Okay. Yeah, I'm Andy Perchlik. I work at the Department of Public Service, and I'm here to talk to you about the Solar for All program. I'm going to come out here so I can see this better. So just one slide. My goal is just to kind of give you an idea of where we are with Solar for All and where we're going. Up in the corner is the QR code for the website. There's the URL for the website where you can sign up for an email list. You can soon be able to take a survey to give us some feedback on how we're designing the programs. So last year, this time we submitted an application to EPA for $100 million. We were awarded just over $62 million, which is far and above our pro rata share if you were to do it from all the applications. We have more money than Connecticut, more money than New Hampshire. So on a per capita basis, as Vermont often does, we're way ahead of other states. The EPA requires at least $46.5 million of that money to go to incentives for solar for low-income Vermonters. And the requirement is that we basically provide a 20% savings on their electric bill averaged out. And low income is basically 80% of the area, medium income, or if they're located in one of the designated LIDAC communities in the state. So since last year we put in the application, we found out in May that we got the $62 million. Not till July did we actually get the grant agreement. And then September 1st is when the grant actually started. That's when we could start billing time for it. So in that time, what EPA has asked us to do is design a plan to how we're going to do it for $62 million, not the $100 million that we originally proposed, and what are all the details of our program? How are we going to get this 20%? How are we going to meet the other metrics that they have in the program? So we have a plan. It's more than a concept of a plan that some people talk about. And this is the basic parameters of the plan. So I talked about it as 3 stools of the plan, but there's actually, to have three legs of a stool, you need to have something that holds them together. And that is what I have up here is that the department has a lot of work that we got to do. This program is at the Department of Public Service within the State Energy Office. Melissa Bailey, who's here, is the director of that division. So if you have any complaints, you can go to her. The State Energy Office is going to be doing all the planning and all the implementation of the overall program, following all the EPA regulations and things like the State Workforce Development Program that we have to do as part of this, that will go through all 3 different programs. So I have dollar numbers on here and basic ideas of the programs. So we're trying to meet low-income Vermonters' needs for a lower electricity cost in 3 different areas. So low-income Vermonters that live in a permanently affordable housing is this MASH program, Managed Affordable Solar Housing. And Mia Watson, who's also here, is going to be our main partner through VHFA. So they're a named partner to run this MASH program for us. So we're in the process of getting an agreement with them so they can go off and run and get this program going. But this is for those that live in affordable housing buildings or will live in new affordable housing structures. This could be manufactured homes, but mainly we're talking about affordable housing complexes. ACRE is an existing program we have. This is community solar. This is working with the utilities. So we're going to work with our existing distribution utilities to install larger, like megawatt-sized solar, and that's mainly to help renters. So folks that can't have solar on their own buildings where they live, they will get this benefit through their bill, through their utility. And it's based building on the existing ACRE program we have. And then the RAISE is our residential program. This is for low-income folks that own the home or have access to the roof of the home that they can install solar on. Maybe it could be roof ground mount, but we're talking about thousands of 5 kilowatt arrays on roofs and working with solar developers and folks to do that. So that's the basic design, and we're engaging in a whole public engagement, meaningful public engagement process is the next step of this process, and we'll need your help to do that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we really are moving more into workforce for the rest of our presentations. Kevin.
Vermont has a workforce shortage. Let's reframe this. Vermont has a people shortage. When we talk about workforce, we're really talking about people. So how many people do we need? What if every unemployed person in the state of Vermont found a Vermont-based job? We would still have over 10,000 remaining jobs open. Now you may be thinking, how do we get those 7,500 job seekers to enter the climate economy? But at the same time, every other industry, every region of the state is thinking the same thing. How do we get people into healthcare? How do we get people into education? And if we take a look at the headlines, we see it's not isolated to a single industry or a single geographic region. Vermont has a people shortage. Now, I had the privilege of speaking with a reporter from the New York Times last year who wrote a story that said Vermont may be the face of long-term US labor force shortages. That conversation played out like this. He said to me, Vermont is one of the oldest states in the country, and the labor shortages that you're facing, you're gonna face those before anyone else because you're one of the oldest states. So Vermont in that way is a leading indicator for what the rest of the country might experience if nothing changes at the national scale in terms of immigration. So we have a choice. We can be a leader. We can be a leader in what to do, or a leader in what not to do. But one of those things will happen because time only works in one direction. This was the quote in the story. The reporter said, "The root of the staffing challenge is simple. Vermont's population is rapidly aging. More than a fifth of Vermonters are 65 and older, and more than 35% are over 54, the age at which Americans typically begin to exit the workforce. No state has a smaller share of its residents in their prime working years." So I know there's a room full of folks that love data, so let's take a look at what this looks like. This is the picture of our population and our labor force. So let's take a look at that demographic distribution. Vermont has the lowest fertility rate in the US. Our homegrown talent supply is shrinking. We do a pretty good job as a state attracting young talent to our colleges and universities, but historically we've done a pretty poor job retaining them. So that's led to this missing middle. We hear that term in the housing conversation, but we also have a missing middle in terms of our workforce as well. We need to recruit and retain more in that darker green. Because when we look farther down this distribution, there's about 135,000 people between the ages of 50 to 64. So think about what that's going to look like from a workforce perspective in the next 10 to 15 years. And as those folks leave the workforce, they still have housing needs, and generally healthcare needs go up too. So what is that gap? What are we trying to achieve? The Vermont Department of Labor released new long-term occupational projections recently that said Vermont will have about 17,150 retirements per year through 2032. Now, if we take a look at the supply side, across the state of Vermont, we had about 5,300 12th grade students total last year, right? So those two numbers don't balance out. We also don't retain 100% of those 12th grade kids. Even if we retained 100% of our high school and college grads, it would just about balance out the retirements. So we have to look at net migration as a key factor in how we close this gap. This research by the Vermont Futures Project is at the heart of some goals that we released last year to grow the population to 802,000 by 2035, which is an increase of about 155,000 people. And in order to accommodate a population of that size, we would need about 350,000 non-seasonal homes, an increase of about 80,000. This number might sound big and scary in Vermont context, but it represents about 2% growth per year. And doing so will help alleviate many of the challenges that we face in the state. Vermont needs more people. So you can see that through an economic perspective. But more people need Vermont too. So when we think holistically, how do we make progress on our economic issues, our social issues, our environmental issues? I'll leave you with this. People are the solution, not the problem. We need more of them. So my name is Kevin Chu, Executive Director of the Vermont Futures Project. I invite you to continue the conversation with me, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bill Schwartz, Workforce Development Manager with Efficiency Vermont. So today we've heard a lot of really great programs and initiatives that all of you are putting forward. And one key factor that's going to lead to the success of these programs down the road is going to be our ability to deploy a qualified and accessible climate workforce. As you can see this map, a little small for some of you in the back, but there's purple dots on here representing training facilities and green dots representing EEN weatherization contractors. As you can see, there's a good bit of geographic disparity, and there's just simply not enough contractors to get the work done in the time frame that we have available. So our approach to addressing this gap is going to be a workforce development framework called talent pipeline management. The TPM approach was developed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and it's an employer-driven approach. So when we bring employers to the table, we're really getting their input and ensuring there is really solid jobs that these job seekers and students can be going into. So where does Efficiency Vermont sit in this? We will be acting as a host organization, meaning we'll be facilitating these processes. I myself will be engaging with these employers, these training providers, these background service providers, bringing all these moving parts together and ensuring that we have a really elite type talent pipeline for job seekers and students going into these climate careers. So you can think about this process in 4 different phases. We are looking at the beginning phase right now, getting organized. We're socializing the framework. We're getting employers to the table and ensuring that everyone really knows what role they're going to be playing moving forward. Then next is going to be data gathering. So we're working with the employers on gathering data on the supply and demand side of talent. So making sure we have these job seekers going into these careers, and the career sites are going to be there waiting for them once they graduate. Then we have implementation, which is actually putting it into practice. And finally, we have improvement, making sure it's iterative, and making sure that we're accounting for any potential shocks or changes that can happen. So how does this look in Vermont? We're looking at a geographic breakdown aligning with the WAP region, so we're taking into context these regional contextualities while moving forward and making sure each employer in each region has the resources they need while still taking into account this is a statewide process moving forward. Looking at our prioritization of workforce sectors, we're going to be starting with weatherization, as we know that is kind of the foundation to getting individuals' homes energy efficient. And then also closely behind with heating and electrification, which is listed there with many different job sectors. And then finally looking at renewables and EV infrastructure further down the road. And that is all I have today for standing up here. And please meet me at my table afterwards for more.
My name is Kate Buckman. I have the honor of directing the Serve, Learn, Earn Coalition. My goal for my 2 minutes is just to give a really broad overview of our collaborative and then inspire you to come to our table to talk more about it. But Serve, Learn, Earn, as our name says, right, we're not that creative, is a coalition of nonprofits that provide training and service opportunities across the state. We focus on training in a couple sectors, the building trades, conservation, and where those two overlap in the climate sector and green economy. You can see here our 4 partners. Vermont Youth Conservation Corps and Audubon Vermont focus in conservation, outdoor recreation, working in forest health, working lands health. Vermont Youth Conservation Corps also works in the building trades with our partners Resource and Vermont Works for Women. I won't dig deep. I think many of you have great familiarity with these organizations. What you might not know is that for the last 4 years we've been working together as a coalition because we came out of COVID recognizing that we're doing a lot of the same things and we're doing them in silos. And so our impact had been limited. The ways that we could help people on their paths to affordable education and great jobs was limited, but now working together as a coalition, we're able to support people for longer, offer them a multitude of different training opportunities, and because we include service in all of our programs, we're also having an impact at a community level, building stronger communities through the projects that we do in affordable housing, in forest health, in outdoor recreation, infrastructure. And so there's a lot of good things that happen when we work together. Very quickly too, we just have we help people throughout their careers, starting with age 14 and older, so people move in and out of Serve, Learn, Earn, and we look forward to sharing more with you at our table.
Hi everybody, good afternoon. My name is David Justice and I am the Associate Director with Vermont Adult Learning. We are the largest of 4 providers for Vermont's adult education and literacy network. So we provide personalized pathways to literacy and high school completion, or GEDs, for adult learners, and are one of the Vermont's primary providers of English instruction for English language learners. So our mission in all of this is to support building the state's final workforce. When unemployment is as low as it is, it's those that are left are unemployed and underemployed tend to have the greatest barriers. And their readiness to join the workforce takes time. This is the population that we serve. So back in September of 21, we launched a program called Energy Works. It's an entry-level training program in the fields of weatherization and heat pump installation. And to date, we've held 25 trainings for 176 participants with a 93% completion rate. Our 2 to 3 week long training program includes introductory technical, job readiness and gender equity training. We do employer visits and job shadows as an on-ramp to client work. We also offer credentials in OSHA 10, First Aid, CPR, AED, and EPA 608 for heat pump system installation. So we know that the state has seen a great influx in refugees resettled in Vermont the last few years. Our adult ed literacy network alone has seen an 88% increase in ELL students. We served 732 students last year, up from 390 just 2 years ago. And that number continues to climb. Many of these new Americans to Vermont come with backgrounds in the trades, but are unable to engage in such work due to language barriers, which is a real safety concern. So in response, Vermont Adult Learning is utilizing an integrated education and training model. We're bringing together technical instructors, adult ed instructors, ELL instructors, and employment specialists to develop ELL curriculum in the fields of weatherization and heat pump installation. These collaborations will result in ELL bridge classes, as well as supports during training and ELL supports to employers when onboarding new staff. This is just one example of a target demographic that we are focusing on and hoping to expedite their readiness to join Vermont's current workforce. Kimber Blenix, our Workforce Development Director, myself, and Kate will be on the roundtable, so we welcome you to come join us and talk more about it. Thanks for having us.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here today. My name is Rowan Hawthorne. I'm Principal Assistant in the Commissioner's Office of the Department of Labor, and I want to take just a few minutes to describe registered apprenticeships. So first of all, what are registered apprenticeships? Well, they are a workforce development tool. They are a training program that results in a nationally recognized, industry-vetted, and portable credential, which has an average completion rate, a really high average completion rate, and a wage run, 80K after the apprenticeships are completed. It's a really great workforce development tool, as I said. It provides excellent career pathways, especially for those who are maybe not interested in going into higher education, or those who have not been in the workforce and are interested in entering it. It also combats the idea that you have to have higher education to get a good, well-paying job. As I said, it's got a really great wage after you complete it. Act 55 of 2023 modernized Vermont's apprenticeship system and brought it up to national standards. There are currently around 1,900 apprentices in 125 different programs. However, there are thousands of apprenticeable occupations around the country, and so there's not currently something in Vermont that is interested in having a program in. It's really easy to copy from another state and just paste it into Vermont. It's super easy to work with us. We're happy to do it. It's done all the time. It's also a really great investment for employers. For every dollar invested in an apprentice, the return is around $1.50. It also reduces turnover, improves productivity, and is extremely customizable for your training needs. Some of the most common apprenticeships in Vermont currently are electricians, plumbers, line maintainers, manufacturing product technicians, and it's also going to be a really great tool for the climate and green workforce. It's just a great workforce development tool. I'm a huge fan, honestly. Actively Fund also established pre-apprenticeships in Vermont, which are programs that prepare youth to enter a registered apprenticeship program related to their instruction. So this could be something like construction pre-apprenticeship that youth between the ages 16 to 24, the average age, enter into. It can be anywhere from 2 weeks up to several months long, and it's kind of like a perfect pathway right into a registered apprenticeship program that is built by an employer. They get good standing, and so it's easier to just start right out. And there's no current pre-apprenticeships in Vermont. We're working to build one that should hopefully be up and running next year. And I am looking forward to talking more about it. We have an amazing state administrator for our registered apprenticeship program at the Department of Labor. We're really trying to push this as a great workforce development tool. So please find me at By, and I'm excited to talk more about it. Thank you.
So I foolishly gave myself 1 minute. That's insane. So we just heard the 3 initiatives regarding growing the climate workforce. And there are many more underway that we've not heard, not to mention the many other tasks that have been undertaken by the Climate Workforce Coalition over the past 3 years. Things like defining what a climate workforce job is, setting up web resources, holding focus group studies with potential workers, providing an employee retention webinar to employers. You can read about these on the EAI website. And yet, we have a people problem. For decades, climate workforce jobs, such as those in the trades, have been stigmatized. And it's really unclear whether potential workers know of the opportunities associated with careers in the climate workforce industry. So the question at my table is, do we need a climate jobs campaign? If no, why not? And if yes, what does that look like? Is it just within Vermont? What are we specializing in? What are we focusing on? Is it regional? Is it changing immigration policy? Come to my table.